Welcome to the Morning Walk with Murty Digital Stroll.
Yes, welcome.
Now, while that might be a fun, unexpected way to kick things off, rest assured you are tuned in to your custom-tailored deep dive.
Exactly.
Today, we are exploring this incredible story of, innovation, massive risk, and really just the sheer power of lifelong learning.
It's such a fascinating case study in what I like to call a Gurukul 2.0 mindset.
Yeah, we're drawing all our insights today from this great article by Sanjay Sharma from the Times of India. It's titled, 3 Indian Engineers Spent 6 Months in a Library Studying Quantum Computing. Now they are building what Google has been chasing. Which
is quite a title, but it hits the nail right on the head.
It really does. So our mission for this deep dive, for you listening, is to basically uncover how 3 seasoned semiconductor veterans walked away from this massive corporate buyout, locked themselves in a library, and came out with the blueprint for one of India's only commercial quantum computers.
It is a total paradigm shift.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I think to really appreciate the gravity of this digital migration, you have to look at their baseline, right?
Oh, absolutely. You have to know how high up they were before they decided to start completely over from scratch.
Right, so we're talking about Sujoy Chakravarty, Ravi Mehta, and Biman Chattopadhyay.
Yep.
And these guys spent over a decade at Texas Instruments, just completely mastering classical chip design, like the real nuts and bolts of the semiconductor world.
They were deeply entrenched in it. And then in 2012, they founded Silicon and Beyond.
Yeah, specializing in high-speed semiconductor intellectual property.
Right, and they built it up until 2018 when they hit the absolute jackpot.
Mm-hmm.
They were acquired by Synopsys, which is this global giant in electronic design automation.
And see, this is where I have to push back a bit, or at least play devil's advocate, because for 99% of entrepreneurs, selling to a global giant is the finish line.
Oh, for sure. It's time to retire.
Right. Usually, this is where founders, buy an island or start an angel fund. Why on earth would 3 guys at the absolute peak of their careers pivot to something as mind-bending as quantum physics? Especially something they admittedly didn't even know that well.
Well, what's fascinating here is that they were acting as true wisdom seekers. They weren't just driven by the exit. They saw the horizon of classical computing, and they asked this massive, audacious question,
Which was?
Could India build its own commercially viable quantum computer?
Wow.
Yeah. And to do that, you have to realize that transitioning from traditional semiconductor engineering to quantum computing isn't just like learning a new programming language.
It's not just updating your resume.
No, not at all. It's a complete paradigm shift in how you understand physics and computation itself.
And that leads to the detail that just blew my mind. Instead of rushing out to raise venture capital on some flashy buzzword, they literally went back to school.
The Gurukul 2.0 approach.
Exactly. They stripped away their egos, they got library cards, and they spent 6 months just studying.
Which is the ultimate act of intellectual humility. But those 6 months weren't just, reading for fun. It was a highly strategic audit of the entire quantum landscape.
A reconnaissance mission.
Precisely. They were evaluating all the different physical systems you could use to actually build a quantum computer.
Right. So they looked at superconducting quantum computers, ion trap systems, and photonic computing.
Right. And here's where the physics gets really crucial.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting for the listener, I think, because the differences between these paths dictate everything.
It dictates the entire business model, yeah.
Exactly. So take superconducting computers. That's the path that tech giants like Google and IBM are chasing, right?
Yes. They've poured billions into it.
But the catch is, to make those work, you need environments that are cooled to near absolute zero.
Which is incredibly difficult to maintain.
I mean, we're talking colder than deep space. You have to build these massive multi-million-dollar dilution refrigerators just to keep a tiny chip stable.
And that's because superconducting qubits are incredibly fragile. If any heat or even a stray electromagnetic wave hits them, the quantum state collapses.
And your calculation is toast.
Exactly. It's called decoherence. So keeping it that cold is a huge infrastructure burden.
Which makes scaling it out in India or anywhere really super impractical for broad commercial use right now.
Right. So our founders sitting in the library, they realized this. And they decided to go with photonic computing for their new startup, Quanfluence.
Photonic meaning using light.
Yes, using light and optical components. And the brilliance here is that photonic computers operate at room temperature.
So no deep space refrigerator.
None. It completely sidesteps that massive infrastructure bottleneck.
Okay, but if it's that simple, I mean, if photonic is so practical because it runs at room temperature, there must be a catch, right?
Oh, there's always a catch.
Like, why isn't Google just doing that? How is Quanfluence pulling this off differently?
Well, the traditional problem with using light photons is that it's notoriously hard to trap and measure.
Right, light tends to just go everywhere.
Exactly. In standard discrete variable computing, you're trying to use individual single photons as your qubits. And if you lose just one single photon in the fiber optic cable, the whole calculation fails.
So the error rates are just massive.
Huge. But Quanfluence's unique approach, and this is their major technical breakthrough, is that they abandoned the single photon method.
Oh, really? So what do they use instead?
They shifted to what's called continuous variable quantum computing. So instead of relying on one fragile little photon, their system uses the electric field of groups of photons.
Wait, so they're using like a macroscopic pulse of light.
Exactly. They are encoding the information in the continuous variables of the light wave itself, the amplitude and the phase.
Oh, wow. So if a couple of photons scatter or get lost, it doesn't matter because the overall shape of the wave is still intact.
You've got it. It makes the system profoundly more reliable and scalable.
That is brilliant. And it's like instead of trying to send a message with a single whisper, you're looking at the harmony of a whole choir.
That's a great way to look at it. And this is where their background as semiconductor veterans really gave them an edge.
Because they already knew how to build scalable, robust architectures.
Exactly. They brought rigorous classical engineering principles to quantum optics.
But, you know, having a great theory on paper based on library research is one thing. Building a deep tech company is an entirely different.
Oh, definitely. You have to bridge the gap between theory and a tangible product.
And to do that, they had to assemble just this absolute dream team. They had to merge academia and industry, which, as we know, can be like mixing oil and water.
It's incredibly hard. The cultures are so different.
Right. But they brought in Professor Anil Prabhakar from IIT Madras.
Yes, and his research on optical Ising machines is actually the foundation of their technology.
And then they added Professor Sandeep Goyal from Iser Mohali, who is this expert in quantum information theory.
So they had a hardcore academic research locked down.
But the real strategic masterstroke, I think, was bringing in Aditi Vaiga as chief product officer. She was a former product leader at Arista Networks.
That is so rare for a quantum startup.
Right. To have someone whose whole job is to say, okay, the physics is cool, but how do we actually package this so a client can use it?
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it proves this isn't just some university science experiment.
Oh, it's definitely not.
They have an optical Ising machine right now that handles 128 interconnected variables.
And for the listener, an Ising machine is essentially a highly specialized analog computer that solves complex optimization problems, right?
Right. It lets the physical properties of light naturally find the most optimal mathematical solution to a problem.
It's wild. But the most shocking fact in this whole Times of India article is that Quanfluence is already commercializing this technology.
Today. Not 10 years from now.
Yeah, they have paying enterprise customers accessing this platform via the cloud right now, running complex computational workloads. It is generating revenue.
Because they chose the room temperature path, they could skip the whole cryogenic infrastructure wait time.
So let's zoom out for a second. We're looking at a technology that's going to transform massive fields, right?
Oh, completely.
Well.
Drug discovery, logistics, AI.
Cybersecurity, financial modeling, all of it. And while billions are being invested globally, India's ecosystem is still pretty nascent.
Which makes Quanfluence a vital pioneer here.
So what does this all mean for the listener, especially for someone who, you know, loves learning but might feel a little intimidated by the idea of jumping into a completely new field?
I think the author of the piece, Sanjay Sharma, distills it perfectly.
Yeah.
The core lesson here, especially for professionals and students, is that breakthrough innovation doesn't just come from being a genius in one lane.
Right. It's about cross-pollination.
Exactly. It comes from combining years of industry experience with the absolute humility and courage to learn something entirely unfamiliar.
I love that. They didn't start as quantum physicists.
No, they were classical engineers who were willing to question their own assumptions.
They were willing to become students again. And for you listening, that lifelong learning mindset, the willingness to do a strategic audit of your own skills and become a beginner, just like you're doing by tuning into this deep dive, that is the ultimate superpower.
It really is. The world is changing too fast to just rely on what you already know.
So just to recap this incredible arc, we've got 3 guys who sell their semiconductor IP company for a fortune.
They walk away.
They walk away, spend 6 months in a library studying quantum physics.
The Gurukul 2.0 phase.
Yep. They figure out that room temperature photonic computers are the way to bypass the whole deep freeze problem.
They solve the photon loss issue using continuous variables.
Assemble a team of top academics and industry veterans, and actually get paying enterprise clients on a cloud-based quantum machine in India.
It is nothing short of remarkable.
It really is. So, to wrap us up, what's the big takeaway for our listeners today?
Well, I would just leave you with this thought to mull over. If 3 engineers could lock themselves in a library for 6 months and emerge with the foundation for a commercial quantum computer, what frontier technology could you master if you just gave yourself the permission to become a beginner again?
And that is the perfect question to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep staying curious, and we'll catch you on the next Digital Stroll.